Hello everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Terran versus Zerg where we find ourselves on Stargazers. Now spawning here in the top left hand corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have Serral. And his opponent in the top right with the blue SCVs, he goes by the name of Spirit. Alrighty, so Spirit versus Serral right here on Stargazers. Now, this particular game was recently played during Home Story Cup 21. And hold up, I'm too curious. Sorry, I can't. So Spirit says, pause please. All good, no sound. Serral says, Control plus S. I'm sure that Spirit knows after playing tens of thousands of games over the years that Control plus S is the hotkey to disable and enable sound. Anyways, I used it a lot. You don't hear the typing sound. Go, 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 go. Ready, go, 3, 2, 1. All right. Not particularly exciting, but apparently Serral did a little bit of technical support. Okay, you love to see it. Although, I'm a little bit concerned that he was actually trolling, because I'm sure he's aware of the fact that Spirit knows of the Control plus S hotkey. Anyhow, right, so this particular game was recently played during Home Story Cup 21. And while I do know who ends up winning this particular best of 5 series, I also know that both of them ended up winning at the very least one map, right? As you may have already guessed. So I don't actually know who ends up winning this game right here on Stargazers. I'm excited to find out because apparently this match was a bit of a banger. And actually, Spirit decides to start off this game with a command center after that supply depot. I'm a big fan of this build. So this is game number 1 of the series. The reason, by the way, why I'm not casting the entire best of 5 is... if you've watched a lot of StarCraft 2, you're probably well familiar with the style that, well, Serral likes to play, but especially Spirit. Spirit is very keen to just make command centers. He definitely takes the style that Maru likes to go for to another extreme. So, generally speaking, I think just a single game out of a best of 5 is plenty when we're looking at Spirit's games. Mostly also because, I mean, I think this entire best of 5 probably took like 2 hours. And... yeah, I don't think a 2-hour-long video would do particularly well right here on the YouTube channel. I think just a single game will probably give us the gist of it. So, this is the longest game that these two recently played against each other. So, we'll find out together. Anyhow, so what do we have right here? Serral scouts the timing of that barracks. So, even though he doesn't know that there's a command center on the low ground, he doesn't want to fly the Overlord too far forward. Judging by the timing right there on that first Rex, he can deduce the timing of the command center. And he's figured out at this point that it is going to be a CC first. Now, I gotta say, I really like the command center first, especially in a game number 1 against Serral. I mean, what are the odds of Serral going for a spawning pool cheese or a roach rush or anything along those lines? There are definitely Zerg builds that can just hard counter a CC first, and I think if you're playing a ladder game, going for a command center right from the get-go is not ideal because there's a lot of cheesy Zergs out there, but Serral is the guy that popularized that triple hatch opener, right? He's not really gonna be... yeah, he's not gonna be cheesing you very frequently. I mean... I was going to say 9 times out of 10, but I don't even think that's accurate. Probably like 96, 97 out of 100 games, Serral is going to go for that hatch gas pool. And while he does like to mix in, yeah, a little bit of Zergling shenanigans from time to time, he doesn't mind going for a roach push as well. He really is keen to play that macro game. So I think if you are going to go for a command center first, game number 1 of a series is the way to go. And Spirit, well, he's going to get a booming economy here right from the get-go. Getting that extra mule out, super nice. Going to give you a lot of income, and every time it returns minerals, you get a nice little spike. All right, so what's the follow-up going to be? He's decided to go, okay, for a starport after a factory and after 2 barracks. So it's a double barracks opener. This looks like a 2-1-1, but then obviously with a command center first, which means that the 2-1-1 will definitely hit rather early. That Stimpack upgrade is going to be done at a very respectable time, and obviously the air-to-air distance on this map as well is really not that long. You can get to the other side of the map rather quickly. Serral at this point obviously knows of that though. The question is how many Zerglings is he going to make and how many drones will he be able to produce? I'm expecting these medevacs to start flying across the map at about the 5-minute mark or so. We can expect roughly 16 Marines. And apparently there is going to be an Overlord scouting out everything. So Serral really wants to know. He saw a glimpse right there of the starport. Probably recognizes what's happening here. Well, if he doesn't already put 1 and 1 together. I actually don't like the amount of Marines right there that he showed. I think if he just showed like 3 or maybe 2 Marines, maybe it would have been a bit of a mystery. But I guess Spirit is giving his opponent the benefit of the doubt as well. He's like, okay, I'm not, you know, not going to pretend that my opponent isn't any good at the game. I'll just show him my entire hand and we'll see how well he defends against it. So it's going to be a bailing nest here. No lair, but there is a second gas coming up. Historically, I remember a lot of Zerg players like to just defend against the 16 Marine drop with about 30 Zerglings and then a bunch of Queens. But there are some variations as well that the Terran players have been going for when it comes to the 16 Marine drop that, yeah, do warrant the Baneling Nest. Like, we used to see players really delaying the Baneling Nest against this sort of build for quite a while, and they would go like double Evolution Chamber first, double upgrades. Anyhow, Serral playing a safe game, as we expect him to. Right after the Marines head out, we do have that command center on the low ground here as well. So this is on Stargazers. You have a nice little pocket expansion. Not really something that the Zerg player can easily harass, as these mineral fields over here have 40 minerals in them each. Now, there is a creep tumor going around the main base. I was going to say, it almost seems like Serral's out of position, but the Queens are in the right place. Zerglings are running on over here as well. Transfuses should be able to keep that Queen alive. And even though this push has been pushed back, right? Even though this really didn't deal a lot of damage, what Spirit did achieve is a really good economy for himself, and obviously he forced out a ton of Zerglings. So indeed, roughly around 30 Zerglings were produced. We have more Queens than we normally have as well. And while those are not necessarily things that, you know, Serral's going to be too concerned about, even though it always looks like... I see this confusion all the time from especially newer StarCraft viewers, right? Even though this push seemingly, quote-unquote, failed, it really didn't. It achieved exactly what it needed to. It slowed down the Zerg. Alright, third command center. Coming right up. And there's actually, ooh, 2 siege tanks coming across as well. I love that Spirit actually took out that Zergling on the watchtower a second time. Although I don't really know exactly if the additional medevacs were already spotted. I believe, well, he at the very least saw one of those medevacs. This is a cute little push. I haven't actually seen this before. Not on this map. Is it gonna work, though? Yes. Yes! There's 2 siege tanks right here, and then, like, what? 27 Marines or something? Not a bad amount at all, but the Queen Concave is ridiculous. A lot of energy was saved up as well on those ladies, so a lot of transfusions available, but I quite like that. Now, don't know if I agree with this move. He decided to drop a mule just to repair the 1 siege tank back up. I can guarantee you that there's additional Zergling, you know, coming up on the back of this, so I don't think that this is really going to be able to get on out of here, but Spirit apparently wants to double down on the aggression. Really? This is now becoming a little bit too aggressive for my liking, to be honest. Unless he picks up the tank. Yeah, actually keeping it unsieged is really nice. Okay, you know what? I like that better now. Even though I did think that the mule was maybe a little bit overly, yeah, ambitious. I like the fact that he did not siege up the tank. So if you siege up the tank, you can't, well, pick it up with the medevac right away. Once upon a time in the meta of StarCraft 2, you could, but these days, that's no longer an option. Now, I don't know if those Marines got the memo, but apparently this was a one-way trip. The medevacs are leaving. Sorry, guys. Interesting set of units to leave behind. In the meantime, by the way, both players have been happily going around the map. Serral has taken another base down south. He's already been making drones for that one for a little while as well. Third command center, though, has been spotted here too by the Finnish Zerg player, so he knows exactly what he's going up against right now, but I'm liking this position here for Spirit quite a bit. This map is a pretty good Terran map, actually. So when it comes to, like, map vetoes, it seems that most of the Zerg players are vetoing this one together with... What's it called? Waterfall. So it seems that whenever it's, like, a best of 5, so you only get to play... Or you only get to veto 1 map each. This is a very common veto. Nice pickup once again, keeping the tanks alive. The main reason is that Terran players cannot just take 3 bases very easily, but the 4th as well as the 5th base are very accessible. It becomes a bit trickier going forward from there, but overall this is a good map for, yeah, the Terran's tech advancement, and I think especially for the way that Spirit likes to play this game right now with a very macro-focused approach, a lot of command centers, a lot of ghosts. Actually, on the loading screen of this replay, he also had like the ghost portrait and then also the ghost banner, which is kind of funny. Anyhow, I do think that this map really does favor the way that Spirit likes to play. Alright. No way. Okay, I was gonna say. That is much too small of a Terran of a Zerg army to try and push the Terran bases in with. Just an attempted little roll-by right there. Spirit is gonna add on the 4th command center. 5th command center, actually. 4th command center is already done. I was gonna say, that seems a little bit late. That's going to be the 5th CC, so he's going to start mining a good amount of resources here very quickly. Whereas Serral is just sort of giving him the map. This is a decision that the top-level Zerg players like to make that always makes me a little bit on edge, right? So whenever I see the Terran player just allowed to, you know, do whatever, it always gets me a little bit concerned. Anyhow, he attempted to go for the gold base right here down south. Didn't happen because already a large group of Marines headed on over in this direction. They're stimming from about a mile away. That's a super dead Overlord, but not entirely sure if that really was worthwhile. Another stim. Well, you know what? No banelings here. Yeah, since they had to run so far. Nice targeting as well. Individual targeting right there by Spirit on the banelings that were leading that pack before picking up and getting out of there. You love to see it. In the meantime, though, the Zerg did tech up all the way towards the Hive. Ultralisk Caravan coming up. Vipers are coming up. I think Ultras are amazing, especially when you're feeling confident. They're always a bit of a shaky unit, but if you're feeling good, right, and you got a good feeling about the game, and the game is kind of even, or maybe you're a little bit ahead, I think that Ultras are a good choice. When you're behind, Lurkers usually seem like the more, straightforward approach, and Ultras do scream confidence. Already, though, the most dreaded unit right now from Zerg players around the world is being produced. It's not just a more expensive Marine, as it was used for like the first decade of StarCraft 2. It is obviously the good old Ghost. The Ghost, very good when it comes to dealing with Ultras, Lurkers, Vipers, Infestors, Brute Lords, the whole shebang. But we have seen Zerg players experimenting with a variety of counters against the Ghost as well, so we'll see exactly what Serral decides to do against it right now. I don't think Ultras are going to be that great of an idea, but there's definitely a chance that he can snipe all of those units, or maybe he can mix in still a couple Ultras just to force out the snipes, but if he can accidentally, you know, overwhelm the Terran player and, you know, get rid of a lot of those Ghosts, then suddenly an Ultra transition can be incredibly powerful. Anyways, here we go. Parasitic Bomb on the Medivacs. A lot of Banelings available too. I do think that there's, not quite enough to kill the CC. So Serral, rather than just trying, he decides to back off. But that was actually not that great of a push right there for the finisher. At the same time, there's a nice little engagement over here as well that Spirit seems to be winning. Yeah. Good stuff by Spirit. Spirit is playing a fantastic game so far. There's a lot of games where we look at Serral and the opponents, and Serral just seems to be playing with his food the entire game long, but that is certainly not happening here. Spirit is taking control of the map. He's got 5 bases taken. He's taking the base right now on the bottom right as well. This one is a little bit trickier. In the meantime, though, Serral going for some Overlord drops. Not something that we see him doing all too often, but as long as this watchtower is under his control, he knows that this is going to come in completely unscouted. And, well, Zerglings, I'm assuming with Adrenal, yes. Adrenal Glance at this point is done. That's the attack speed upgrade. They can definitely pack a punch. It's like a budget Nidus Worm. And we all know that Serral is very fond of Nidus Worms these days. Medivacs full of units heading on over in this direction. At the same time, there's also a fight happening down south. Love this, though. Spirit moving forward with the missile turrets very aggressively. Oh, EMPs right there in the middle of that army. I don't think that's really going to achieve all too much. Still, though, having a bunch of Banelings rolling into Marauders, not quite ideal. Siege tanks from a distance, dealing a lot of damage. And even though I don't think this is an ideal fight right now for the Terran player, it's not really that bad. Losing a bunch of tanks right there at the end is kind of rough. Serral, in the meantime, though, is getting those juicy golden minerals, right? These return 7 minerals a trip rather than the conventional 5. It adds up very rapidly. If you look at the income advantage over the last 10 minutes, it is becoming rather apparent that those 97 drones that Serral currently has are helping him out quite a bit. I love, though, what Spirit is doing over here with that static defense, right? So, bringing missile turrets to the front, bringing, well, sensor towers as well out into the battlefield. These are very exposed, but this high ground is rather tricky to break. There are a couple of Vipers available, so you don't want to get too carried away here. Right? Obviously, this siege tank looks extremely abductable. Getting it to the low ground would not be super complex, but yeah, I don't really mind this. So, additional Zerglings moving once more towards that base on, what is this, like, the 1 o'clock? Would this be the 1 o'clock base? I guess so. Anyhow, in the meantime, while that Zergling drop is once again headed to the pocket base, we do have Ultras, Zerglings, and Banelings running over towards this high ground. Units get sniped, though, very nicely, and while one more tank ends up going down, it looks like the majority of those Zerglings were also denied by the siege tank from the low ground. I had no idea that that siege tank could reach all the way over there. That seems ridiculously far away. Look at that siege tank. Holy shit, look at that guy. Alright. Base down south. Destroyed by Spirit. Spirit is doing a great job. I was a little bit concerned we might have a bit of a one-sided game, but this is definitely not the case. I am liking this position for Spirit a lot. So his bank is not that big. Main reason, though, is that he's been adding on quite a few command centers. So he's currently got 6 orbital commands and 3 planetaries. Once you've really got, a sufficient amount of CCs, you can start mining, and you can obviously mine out those expansions very rapidly. I think missile turrets, not a bad idea. Not only are the detectors, you can also push away any further overlord drops too. One siege tank's now positioned, or one siege tank rather, now positioned over here. This bad boy now has 22 confirmed kills. Love to see that. Yeah, Terran players sometimes do get a little bit carried away though, with the amount of CCs that they make. I'm always a little bit concerned. Because right now, if I look at the bank of the Zerg, you know, that's about 4 command centers worth, I suppose. But it's easy to get carried away and be like, I'm gonna make more command centers. And then, you know, you don't actually have an army to remax with or an economy to remax with. One main advantage, though, is obviously you can get yourself a lot of scans out on the board. Serral using that burrow mechanic a lot. This is something that he's been incorporating in his play over the last, I want to say like half year to maybe a year or so, where we've seen a lot of aggressive Zergling drops, Zergling burrows, and then also Nidus play. It's really good. Like these +3 Zerglings, look how much damage they deal. This is a small group of links. They just killed a command center. Now, as we just discussed, Spirit has plenty of those. And it's not like those Zergling drops are free either, but this creates a lot of chaos, right? Like, it's one of those moves that for the Zerg player is... Oh, hold that thought, because we have a Nidus... Or, sorry, not a Nidus, a Neural right there on one of the siege tanks. Siege tank dealing a lot of damage. Eventually, though, the Infestor does get sniped. Okay, now we definitely do have enough Banes if you want to go after that Planetary Fortress. But I think that, yeah, the Ghosts are going to be the main unit that the Zerg player here wants to snipe. Anyways, what I was trying to say is that those little moves here are... Like, when you're thinking about limiting resources, right, in a game of StarCraft 2, the obvious ones are minerals and gas, right? But there's other limiting resources, too, that are very important to discuss. Like, for example, map vision and actions per minute, right? And this is a very APM-effective bit of harassment. This is one of those moves that Serral can just sort of queue up, and he can look back whenever he's got a moment and unburrow and reburrow the Zerglings. And the Terran player really needs to... Yeah, actively defend this, send rallied units on over in that direction, and it takes a lot of time. He has to restart up his infrastructure over here. It's one of those moves that costs the Zerg maybe like 10 actions, but in order for the Terran player to defend against it, it's like maybe 50 actions. It adds up very quickly. APM, very much so a limited resource in a game of StarCraft 2. You wouldn't say it when you see these pro players play, but they can only look at one screen at once. Alright, Serral's starting to really, lay down the hurt right now, though. Even though he's by no means winning the engagements, he is sniping those expansions very nicely. And every time that the Terran army cycles up north, there's another army down south. Really using that Zerg mobility. That creep spread is looking really sweet around the map as well. So Serral can very rapidly reposition his army. And obviously you can send Ultras into the main as well. Maybe not your preferred unit, but... Ultras in an Overlord drop? Wouldn't mind to see it. Fusion Core coming up. A lot of Terrans at this point in the game, at this point in the meta, like to transition towards a mech-based army. So if you compare the way that Spirit is playing to, for example, a Bjorn or a Maru, they will usually start transitioning towards Thors, Liberators, Hellbats with Blue Flame. They will transition away from Marines and Marauders as the game progresses. And it's kind of interesting to me that Spirit is very, well, decisively not making that decision. Which I don't know if I agree with that. Because these continuous Zerg pushes are starting to really hurt. Serral is still mining with 90+ workers, so his income is still looking really sweet. Yeah, he's been ahead when it comes to that income for a long time. I guess in Spirit's mind, he's like, okay, I will give my opponent that base down south. I know that there's not really a whole lot I can do to contest it. But if I mine out all my bases on the right side of the map, and all that Zerg gets is one additional base down south, I guess I can trade cost efficiently enough over the course of the game to be able to make up for that income deficit. So far, yeah, the resources lost, I mean, do speak volumes here for that game plan here for Spirit. This is very much the way that Spirit likes to play, by the way. So he's not going for that death ball, he's going for a cost-efficient based army, right? So killing another base, not bad whatsoever. Ideally, obviously, you do want to mine that that bottom base yourself. Advanced ballistics, it finishes up, so... As pretty as that fusion core is, it's served most of its function. Here we go, though. Zerg now has found a little bit of vulnerability inside of that armor of the Terran. Once again, a bunch of siege tanks ended up going down there, but... Well, so did the Ultras. 6 Ultras at this point. 19 siege tanks. Alright. Now the Thors are coming up. Interesting. So this really feels late. Like, it's still Mass Marine Marauder, but now the Thors are being added into the mix too. I wonder why he's going for the Thors right now. Because he could have definitely started them up a little bit sooner. I wonder if maybe Spirit is concerned about like a mass Brute Lord transition. Imagine right now that there's like, I don't know, suddenly 20 Brute Lords. He would not really know, and he wouldn't really have much of a counter either. I mean, he's only got 3 ghosts here, which is really not that much. How many ghosts have gone down this game? 15. Okay, yeah, we really do need to see additional ghost production. Instead, we're going into Thors. Anyhow, here comes Serral once again. Serral has transitioned away from mostly Ultralisks, right? So I guess the ghosts aren't that worthwhile anymore, but it becomes very dangerous. Those Liberators, I guess, taking over the role of the ghost in a way. Some of the mineral fields over here are getting mined out too. Serral wants to have a direct path into the base of the Terran. But yeah, at this point, those expansions are mostly mined out. And Zerk is starting to run out of money. If he can mine out this base, even if it's just the last little bit, that would be amazing for Spirit. The Arcorruptor's right now in the mix. I would love to see, yeah, Spirit mining out these minerals over here. That would be huge. He's bringing the mules to the party too. Mules actually mine a flat amount of resources, so using them on golden minerals is not very useful, but it still mines out pretty fast, and because of that... Nice defense right here from Spirit. Because of that, I think that Spirit is going to be able to mine out these leftover mineral fields quite quickly, and now we're actually running into an issue here as the Zerk. It's not like Serral has, you know, Scrooge McDuck levels of money right here. It's not like he's swimming in minerals at this point. Good split. Very nice split right there by Spirit. Yeah, excellent work. Spirit is doing a phenomenal job here. I wonder if it would have been a good idea from Serral to transition towards like either Lurkers or Brute Lords. He must have a great Aspire at this point. Yeah, he does. I think in his mind he was probably thinking he was winning the game because, well, he was mining an extra base over his opponent. So those cost-inefficient trades with the Ultras may not necessarily have been the end of the world, but look at his bank. Serral no longer has any money. The only income he's really getting right now is going to come from that pocket base. So there's some mineral fields still remaining, and the expansion over here in the bottom left. So Infestors and Spellcasters, I think, are going to be the next step in Serral's plan. Obviously, he's very skilled when it comes to microing Infestors and Vipers. Did I just say Investors and Vipers? Did I... Investors and Viper... Anyways, the Dutch in me came out again. A couple of drones are like, hey guys, we were told there's a party on the side of the... Hey guys, where are the minerals? It's a bit sad. Well, Serral opening up some more supply. I think his plan is to go Brute Lord, Viper, Infestor. I think that's probably the most logical approach. He does have some Infestors over here as well. So the Infestors can obviously be used to neural parasite a ghost, then EMP the rest of the ghosts. But look at what Spirit is doing, guys. You seeing this? This is unheard of. I love it, actually. Spirit is splitting up his units a lot. Well, as soon as I say that, he pulls them all together. But when I started that little, you know, section, he was definitely split up on the ghosts. I think that splitting the ghosts is actually super important. I guess in this particular area, though, he's covered by missile turrets, and missile turrets are obviously detectors. Missile turrets are very good when it comes to preventing that neuroparasite from going down on the ghosts, but yeah, still think it's noteworthy. Anyway, Brute Lords are coming up. Yeah, Serral is definitely taking a slower approach in this game right now. His fast-paced army did not work. I mean, it worked well enough, but it didn't win him the game. So, we're going for a slower army now. So, this is Brute Lord Infestor, a Viper, Queen, with some Lingbane and whatnot for support. This is one hell of an army. Well, one hell of an army in the right hands anyway. It's one of those armies that is very difficult to control properly, but it has a lot of potential. And we've seen Serral pull rabbits out of hats with this sort of unit composition many times before. Base down south at this point is mined out. So even going after this really doesn't achieve all too much. Ghosts coming in from the bottom. I love this. Sniping just 2 Brute Lords there. Plenty. Although I don't really know exactly why we gave up on that siege tank over there. SCVs and drones, though, are being killed left, right, and center. And the reason for that is that there's no more mineral fields for them to mine. Okay, good. Very nice movement right there from Spirit. Spirit still has a good amount of money in the bank. And some of that money right now is being spent on a tactical nuke. Smart servos is nearly done. Well, it's finished right now. Do we have the blue flame upgrade? We do not yet, unless I'm missing it right there on that screen. Wouldn't mind seeing it. I think a couple of Hellbats here can be incredibly helpful to not only get rid of the Lings and Banes, but also against the Brutelings. That's how we see, at the very least, Mr. Maru using them quite frequently. Sniping whatever you can. Massive EMP as well. Well, looked like a massive EMP. For some reason, it didn't actually get rid of a whole lot of energy there at all. Anyhow, the map is, for all intents and purposes, mined out. And apparently, to celebrate, Spirit is sacrificing an SCV. Oh, no! That is the saddest SCV ever. Okay, well, you know what? I think that's a better way to go. I think that's a better way to go. It's a weird way to celebrate, man. I'm not entirely sure what was happening there. Anyhow, Serral trying to spread a little bit of that creep. Spirit, though, setting up a nice little concave. Ghost coming in from the top right now. Ooh, they don't want to get fungled.
Drones under attack.
Transfuses on the overseers. Okay. Yeah, not a bad amount of Thors here whatsoever. Now we have really taken a much slower approach, right? I kind of love how this game started off with super fast-paced armies, and now, since both players are, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say going broke, because they have very powerful armies, and they still have quite a bit of money in the bank too, but at the very least, they've taken a bit of a slower dance move over here. So if we look right here at the army values, you can see that Serral's army is still very powerful, but it's not like Mr. Spirits is looking weak here. Alright, I think this game will be decided by late game movement. Late game micro. Because these are the armies that we've got to deal with. A couple of ghosts end up going down, but we've seen a few Brute Lords getting sniped. Maybe a Thor or two gets damaged, but so do the Brutes. In the end, this is a relatively even game right now. Only a little bit of income actually, yeah, being gathered here. So at some point in this game, I'm pretty sure we reached 4,000 minerals a second. Or, well, not a second, a minute. But we're no longer there. Okay. So what's the approach? Are we gonna get to a stalemate here? I doubt it. But I can't imagine that Terran doesn't really want to engage on a low ground, and Zerg doesn't really want to engage onto a high ground either. So since they both want to take the superior position on a map like this, it can be quite difficult to actually decide, yeah, where to go. Mining out the last little bit of gas over here. It's actually 1,600 gas in that one refinery. I actually really like that he brought a command center on over for that alone. More drones are being sacrificed. They're being replaced with Corruptors, and I think eventually Brute Lords too. A couple of the Spore Crawlers are coming up. These serve very similar functions as the missile turrets do. Mostly just as detectors and to make sure that a bunch of ghosts can't just be running around the map without being spotted. Okay. That siege tank over there, 48 kills. Do you think that's the hero siege tank? I would like to believe that this is the hero siege tank that was previously stationed over there. His job apparently has been replaced by a planetary. Fair enough. I would love to see a hatchery coming up over here just to mine out the one Vespian geyser. That would be amazing. There's still 1900 gas in that bad boy. It's actually a lot. But Serral needs minerals. Actually, Serral only has 127 minerals. Does he have any mineral income here whatsoever? Yeah, okay. There's still a tiny bit over here, but honestly, I don't think he really needs any additional gas. He's already got more gas than he can spend reasonably. Snipe? Nope. Well, yes on the snipe, but nope on the ghost. Transfusions on the Brute Lord brings it back up to full health. Tactical nuke. The third one. There are a couple of changelings, by the way, in this army as well, so Serral sees exactly what's happening. Tactical nukes, by the way, do cost 100 minerals, 100 gas, and effectively right there they only killed a little bit of queen energy. But it did allow Spirit to advance with the Liberators. There's only 2 Vipers in this game. Yeah, Serral is trying to long distance mine that gas. He doesn't really need that gas. I guess at this point though, trading units for energy is not what you want to be doing. There's a time and place for that, but at this point that's no longer here. Okay. This is a good spot though, I think, for the Zerg player, right? Yeah. Good fungal growths over there, dealing a lot of damage. I hear a bunch of ghosts dying. 5 new ghosts are being created right away. 1 Liberator very far forward, but there's still a few Corruptors in the mix. There's also some Vipers. Wouldn't mind seeing an abduction on this bad boy right over there. Seems like it's lost. Yo, bro. Are you lost? There you go. You came to the wrong neighborhood. Oh my god! Wait, what? Hold up, I need to go back. What just happened there? Huh? Did Spirit just target fire down on the changeling? What? There's just about to be a friendly fire hit. Screw that Marine in particular. Not entirely sure why. Fun fact, actually. This is something I did not know. I think we have a little bit of time to discuss this. Until like, I don't know, maybe 8 years of me playing StarCraft 2. If you need to kill a changeling in StarCraft, you just need to right-click. Right-clicking is all you need to do. You do not need to attack move in order to detect if something is a changeling. I think that Spirit actually attack moves on the changeling, which would actually be a mistake. So maybe he thought one of those units over there and he accidentally had the siege tank selected or something was a changeling. I don't think there was a changeling in that mix, was there? Anyhow. Brutal. More SCVs getting destroyed. I believe that Serral at this point is thinking, okay, I don't really need to defend this position on the map. Yeah, hanging out in the middle, around the star on Stargazers, probably the best idea. Because this will make it more difficult for those ground units to get into a good position. Next tactical nuke, flying on over in this direction. A couple of creep tumors end up going down, but also at the cost of 100 minerals, 100 gas. Both players completely broke. There's still an infestor over there in the back. Yeah, what are you even trying to achieve at this point, right? Like, what is the goal? The problem is that this Zerg army and this Terran army, they're both too slow to, like, go and attack somewhere and then counterattack somewhere else. It's just not really an option. Like, it's not like you can harass that base over there and then go all the way back to, like, defend. If you send your Brute Lords in this direction, I can guarantee you that immediately Spirit will kill a couple hatcheries here at the bottom of the map. Oh. Okay. A little bit of a mini game between the Infestors and 2 Marauders, apparently. But the Marauders do manage to get on out of there. Serral is spreading creep on over in that direction, though. He's also brought some drones right now, I think on his Ling Bane hotkey. Just kind of curious. Spirit tiptoeing back home. Both players going for the patient game. Serral is clearly the one who wants to take the engagement, though. Let's see. Okay, Fungal. Infestors. Oh god, okay. Massive EMP, though. Huge EMP right there on all of the Infestors. I think that's actually all that we really have here for the Zerg player. And Serral looks at this engagement. He realizes that without the Infestor energy, there's absolutely no way he can keep that Terran army at bay. And just like that, playing an extremely patient game, it's Spirit who obtains the victory. Excellent game here by the Polish Terran. Not really making any major mistakes as far as I could tell.